You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds. Nerds!
Welcome back to Nerds Podcast. I'm Puba and that's Pete, and we're going back into Welcome to Derry, episode 5, titled Neibolt Street. Obviously titled after the street where the well house is, and we finally get Pennywise. Thank you to all the subscribers as we continue to build out this channel. And if you're stopping by, try joining the 500 plus by hitting the subscribe button. You can also support by liking, sharing, and commenting. The bell is there to make sure that you don't miss out on any of our latest episodes or shorts. You can also check out our other socials listed below and see how we interact with other nerds. Pete, we've covered animated, fantasy, sci-fi, and different types of series. Am I going out on a limb to say this is the best series we've covered this year?
It's tough because, it's hindsight. Yeah, this is the one that we're most recently, covering. So yeah, this one is fresh in our minds. But I will say this one is very good. I didn't know this series was coming out until you had recommended covering it. I had only seen it one when you had recommended it, so I watched both of them back to back to get ready for this series, and this series did not disappoint. They're really building off of this, off of Pennywise, off of Derry, off of they're building off of the two movies with this series, and this series is not disappointed. It's number 1 on HBO Max, but I'm 100% enjoying this show. Can't wait for more, and this is this particular episode definitely delivered for me in the sense where it's one of those where, like, if you're in an office setting or at school and there's gossip going around, we finally got the resolution or the answer to our questions of what's going on, but we'll get into that. But this episode definitely was one of the best ones. Besides what you said as far as Pennywise, everybody was waiting for Pennywise to be revealed, but we'll get into the other reason why I thought this was one of the better episodes.
I'm curious to see, because again, this is not your genre to say in a far-fetched imagination, but let's get into it. We start with Halloran and Tanya coming back to the physical existence because they were in the Shine world somehow. Tanya goes into a seizure, and Doc seems to be kind of dazed himself. But he has the location of the shards that Rose and her group, the Children of Matron, were trying to keep from the military. We then moved to the hospital, and snail-eyed Marge, while we saw her dig out her eye due to, its fear infection, she looked better than expected, and Lily, who looked to be blamed for her eye, visited her. Pete, 2-part question here. I thought she was way worse off than they showed her. And what did you think of Lily's bold move to visit her?
Well, yeah, I thought the same as what I was expecting her to be a lot worse than what we saw. But again, as far as this could be, Pennywise playing tricks on them, as far as mind tricks on them, maybe she was hallucinating what she had actually saw. But yeah, I thought she was, but she wasn't as bad as I guess both of us thought that she would be. And Lily going to visit her shows what type of person that she is. She's a friend. Again, she was on the outs because she was with hanging out with those other girls, those bullies, the mean girls.
Patty cake girls, I call them.
She was hanging out with them, so she kind of they kind of drifted apart. But you saw that she was already feeling bad for trying to set her up to be embarrassed by that boy in the lunchroom. She was already kind of feeling bad then, and then seeing her friend, you saw the emotion, and she's crying. You're my best friend. So I love the fact that Lily visited her. I thought that just shows what type the character that she is, the person that she is.
No, yeah, Marge had told everyone that Lily had nothing to do with her eye. I thought that was super cool. It kind of saved her. But she lied about how it went down because she said it was her glasses that made her do that. I thought that was pretty cool as well. But we also come full circle with Marge and Lily because if you remember, Lily told Marge what had happened in the movie theater, and Marge had told her that she was crazy for even saying that. But, now Lily's kind of telling her, you're not alone on this. We're all in it together now. And then we get back to the kids' clubhouse and the tower where Lily eventually brings Marge later on, but we see the yellow tent and hear noises coming out of it. Pete, we get Maddie back. Walk me through your thought process at this point because I was shocked.
We never really got, we never really saw what happened to him. They kind of left it open-ended because last time we saw him was in the car with that weird family that picked him up while he was hitchhiking. I didn't know if they mentioned it. Maybe I missed it. As far as him being away was him being out in the streets like that was because he was trying to stay away from his father. And he kind of revealed that here, that he didn't want to go back to his father. So they were trying to get him to go to the cops to kind of confirm that, look, he's alive. And Grogan didn't have anything to do with the kids being murdered. But he wanted nothing to do with that because of, he was trying to stay away from his dad. Something I don't know if it was mentioned before, but that was something that kind of stuck out to me. But it was, he looked horrible. Hair was long. He looked very pale. So trying to give that, trying to show that he was, he's been out of it. We saw him, I guess, a glimpse from him from Lily when she was in the bathroom through the drain. So we don't know what he's been through, but he looks like he's been through it. And yeah, he showed up at the clubhouse. So this kind of opens up, their thought process. They start going through, we can use him to go to the cops to kind of save my dad. That's what Ronnie's thinking, of course, because that's her main concern here. She's not, it doesn't even really seem like she's concerned with being scared anymore. She just wants to save her dad. And, but then, they start going back and forth to try to come up with a strategy to make it where they can save Ronnie's dad. But seeing him pop up was, I didn't see that coming.
I'm going to get to the $1 million question, Pete. Did you know it was it?
No. Not, I didn't suspect right off the bat. I didn't suspect because again, the last time we saw him, it wasn't like he was one of the kids from the movie theater. Then I would have been like, nah, this is not happening. We saw those kids get ragdolled. We saw those kids get, destroyed in that movie theater. If it would have been one of them, I would have been like, okay, this is not for real right now. But being that it was him, and the last time we didn't really see what happened to him. We didn't really see. So I mean, obviously that horrible looking baby was born in the car while he was in there. In the first episode, like, how do you set up a series with that happening? This lady giving birth in a car to some winged mutant two-headed baby. But yeah, I think that was brilliant in the fact that we didn't exactly know what happened to him. So for him to show up like that kind of gave you the impression that, okay, we're going to finally tell you what happened. But we find out what happened later.
Absolutely. And, I'm going to give the fans kind of an inside look of kind of the conversations because you had told me, hey, we forgot to talk about the pacifier in the first episode when we did it. And when he came back, that's what I was looking for. I was looking because he would have been nervous. He kind of had that mouth fixation. And the last thing that he had said, and I rolled my eyes so much it probably came out of my head when he was said, what was it? He said that he only comes out at night. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so Pennywise at this point because we got the Hanlon boy who got attacked during the day. You got just recent Marge just got attacked during the day. And then the supermarket scene. I was like, oh man, Maddie, you're bad delivering on this one. But listen, the way I think about it is pretty creepy to think that it is just hanging out with the kids in broad daylight. I mean, this is like DC's Martian Manhunter and the Marvel Scrolls rolled into one, just shape-shifting like he wants to. But let's get back into the story. We get back to the military base, and Shaw's finally given Hanlon all the tea about this entity known as IT. He tells him about the Indigenous Secret Order from the, and I'm definitely going to bomb this one, Scatawapscot tribe that oversaw containing it. This tribe is different from the Shakapiwa tribe that Mike learned the ritual of Chud from. Then Shaw talks about saving lives if they can weaponize it. Hanlon's expression says it all, Pete. Do you agree with Shaw that if something like this existed, that they should weaponize it to save lives?
No, and I think in any time, any show, movie, whatever we've seen, that when the military tries to weaponize something that is kind of supernatural, it never works out. So, I mean, not that they would watch other shows and say, you know what, we shouldn't do it because it didn't work out here, but that's always been their MO. They want to weaponize something, and it never seems to work out in movies, shows, animated, anything. It never seems to work out. Look what happened in Alien Earth, dealing with things that, you probably should leave alone. It's kind of like trying to, to mess with nature. Like, you wouldn't want to take a wild animal and keep it in your house, because a lot can go wrong there. And I think this falls along the same lines. Is these are things you don't really understand, and they may end up being more powerful than you're able to kind of, control or contain. So why don't you just leave that alone, and why don't you just stick why don't you just stay to regular military weapons instead of trying to take something supernatural and weaponize it?
Yeah, the fear throughout the Cold War must have been crazy to even think of going this route. We get back to the tower where Maddie's now talking about how he escaped, right? And how the others like Susie and Teddy died. And he sells them on Philip still being alive. Pete, I felt a little absolved for a moment because I was like, yeah, I told you Phil was still alive. Yeah, not the case. We get to the children of Mathurin meeting where they're passing over the information due to the cycle coming to an end to a younger person of the tribe. They called it the augury, meaning something terrible is going to happen, like in 1908's Kitchener explosion, 1935's Bradley Gang Massacre. We already know what the augury is for this season, Pete. It's the black spot. And Pete, we discussed that the Derry people are not nice. We learned in that meeting of the natives that it discharges something into the water and it has affected the people. Are you satisfied with this simple explanation for the people of Derry?
Yeah, I don't, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, the writers should have did more. No, I'm okay with that. Some things don't have to be super complicated. If it works, why not?
Yeah, no, I think it's what makes this series so watchable is that it's not difficult to follow along with it, even though we have multiple characters in this. And I think it's what makes the people in Derry immune to the missing children, their mean streaks, and their behaviors. I agree with you. It's simple. Let's not overcomplicate it. He's actually affecting the water. But it's okay, again, just like a nuke bomb would as well, it has its long-lasting effects with everything else. Hank is getting transferred onto the bus to the Shawshank, and it reminded me of how Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins in the Shawshank Redemption, was transferred. Bowers told Hank that the last fish we sent in there didn't survive the week. And this is, of course, in relation to Shawshank Redemption, where when a new prisoner comes in, they yell out, fresh fish, fresh fish. But it's all kind of stopped by an angry parent. Then we get Charlotte's first encounter with it in the form of the guard. Pete, from the sweat and the different uniform, were you taken back by the way that looked in the door?
It's always when he kind of reveals himself, but he's still in disguise. It's the teeth. It's the
smile,
teeth.
Yeah.
It's the teeth that show, and it's very subtle. Again, it's just the teeth, but that makes it that much more creepy. Is that he can be anybody. And he decides to reveal himself by just smiling and showing those teeth. And we've seen it a couple of times already. We've seen it again in this episode. But yeah, he's just on another level, this guy, Pennywise.
And that is not the creepiest smile that we got in this episode. But Pete, it was written on Ronnie's locker. and the same angry parent said it to Hank, "You're going to fry." I can't help but think about another Stephen King novel and the movie, The Green Mile, where another black man was falsely accused of murdering children and was electrocuted. Do you think it's a direct reference to The Green Mile?
No, I don't think that. I know I know there's some connection here to other Stephen King, stories. I didn't see that. I mean, and I'm not saying no way, no how it'll happen, because we've seen other things pop up in references to other stories of his. But I wouldn't write it off yet. But I didn't think that right away.
Yeah, I went there, right? I went as a Stephen King fan. I went there because it kind of, just kind of that moment where an innocent man is being blamed for kids, and he's black, and it's that same era in a sense. But Rose then confronts Shaw about her nephew Daniel, and Shaw's dishonesty about those water pipes that he said that's what he was doing. Then Shaw talks about getting back into 1957, that he got a drug back in 1957 that reminded him of Derry. And again, it's probably just some truth serum that they were testing, but it's through a military group. Now, in a lot of Stephen King's work, we get a thing called The Shop. It was in Firestarter, Tommyknockers, The Mist. And I know it's not called The Shop in Dreamcatchers, but I totally think it's this military group called The Shop. But Rose has a piece of the space debris, right? Because she has to now protect Daniel. And of course, we learned that in the other episodes, Pete, and it works on keeping it away. And she gives it to Daniel to protect them. Daniel tells Rose that he lied about the tunnels and the military. They're speaking in the native tongue. The colonel there's listening, doesn't like it. But Hanlon moves his family to the base after what Shaw told him. Pete, would you have done the same thing, or would you just would have hauled ass and got out of Derry completely?
Well, yeah, it's very similar to another a series that's very similar, which is Stranger Things. Look, if something's happening in this particular town, I think the best thing is to just leave that town. Just move. You understand what I'm saying? Because whatever's haunting that town will probably stay there because that's what it's used to. It's not going to follow you. So I would leave. Same thing here. I mean, he is in the military. That is his his assignment. So I guess the next best thing is to move your family to the military base. I mean, other than leaving the town completely, I don't think there's a safer place to be than on the military base. So I probably would have did the same thing, but last resort would be just leave that town altogether. I'm out.
Then we get some answers on our mystery lady, Pete. We cut over to Lily, who goes to Ingrid Kirsch's house. All right. Now, we know this is her husband because, of course, her creepy-ass husband walked up from the kitchen. So she is, in fact, the older woman in part 2. We obviously at least that lady because in the book, she was long dead before Beverly even visited her in chapter 2. This is great to me, Pete, because that means that Ingrid could be that little girl from 1908 in the flash from the past type of what they did. Are you agreeing with this one, or do you think it's something else?
What little girl? What little girl?
The little girl from the carnival.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's the theory that she's that's who she is. Just showing what how much of a dick her husband is. Don't overcook the steak this time. I was like, what a jerk. But we also, the more important thing is, yeah, like you said, we get a reveal of who that mystery woman is. And are you talking about, were you talking about Hank?
Well, yeah, we could get into that. But before we get into that, I just want to say this. Because I have a lot of theories now, right? Because I'm the theory guy about this show and about Ingrid and all. So I was absolutely wrong thinking it was Annie Wilkes. So if this is the case, her father is Bob Gray, who was the owner of the carnival, and of course it's the original form that Pennywise took in the sense of this clown. And I now think she could be working with Pennywise, much like Henry Bowers worked with him in chapter 2. And, she could be either another version of Pennywise, and she could be, and we can say this now, she could be the one creating that drama in Derry with Hank. And Pete, I may be stretching here, but I think that she is either working with Pennywise or she could be a form of Pennywise that is creating the drama that's happening right now. Now you tell me.
I don't think that. No, that's not far fetched. It's not far fetched. And from my view, I don't think it's far fetched. Because she's in the mix. And again, I mean, it's kind of foreshadowing what we saw in chapter 2 when Beverly went to go visit her. And, it's the same person. So we know, we don't know exactly 100% yet, but she could be in the mix for what's going on with, of course, Lily being the only one that, and we kind of touched on maybe Lily's the only one who sees her. So we don't know, but she's definitely a main part of this. I think she's a lot more involved than what it's kind of been inferred so far.
The issue that I have is that she looks too young to be from 1908 and into the 60s. But again, Pennywise has this thing about, how he shapeshifts. But she was wearing an apron with diamond shapes. And this reminded me of my girl Harley Quinn, who uses the same shapes as a clown in the sense of the diamonds. But again, I'm going all over the place here. We then get to the military with Colonel Fuller leading the team into Neibolt Street. And they close it because of a gas leak. What did you think of the military? Like, we got it. We got a whole crew going into the house. Tell me what you thought about the military showing up.
I mean, again, that's their MO. They want to, put a leash around this thing so they can, weaponize it. So, yeah, how else are they going to go in to try to take control of it than with guns blazing? But they got the tables turned on them. Of course, because they're going into its domain. So, yeah, they regardless of how armed they were at a disadvantage as soon as they stepped in the door.
Yeah, this is bigger than chemical warfare. I was confused about red lights being used in the dark. Just never really seen that in any movies or games of military that I've played. I've never seen that before, but they go down the water well that we saw both in chapter 1 and chapter 2. Daniel is thinking about himself because he's constantly looking at that dagger saying, hey, if this lights up, I'm out. So everybody else is going to be screwed. But Doc is kind of going mad here as well, hearing his grandmother. And the small drop to get into the water becomes a full-on ocean for Doc. Then he gets out of the water into another vision in the bathroom with his grandmother and his grandfather barging into the bathroom. I'm going to get back to that in a second because we get a hand that comes out pointing and reaching out, and it's a zombified Uncle Sam. Famous line, I want you. And then he kills the two guys. Did you enjoy that part?
No, yeah, it was cool. It was cool to, again, use that reference, the I want you poster that you constantly see to recruit, people into the military, to the army. But yeah, that Uncle Sam comes out, of course, skeleton type face, but everything else he's pointing, and like you said, that's just Pennywise. Again, they were at a disadvantage once they stepped in the door. So those are the two guys.
Natural fear.
Those are the two. Those are the sacrificial lambs. They weren't characters in the show, so you knew they were going to die.
No, but this seems to be a natural fear because a lot of young men were called upon into the military, and they didn't want to join because in 1962 the Vietnam War was going on, and nobody wanted to join that. So I can understand the fear of the two guys. But Lily convinces this version of the Losers Club to go back into the sewers, but they take some Valium before they go in. Pete, I was laughing with them high in the sewers. Did you laugh?
Well, yeah, I mean, and then they're taking 3, and it's like little kids taking 3 each is just insane. These two end up holding hands, and they kind of fit. Like, are you guys holding hands? They didn't realize it, but. No, it's interesting to see that the lengths they'll go to kind of they're trying anything to not be afraid, to not show fear, because obviously they find out that he feeds off that. So this is something that they're taking drugs that Lily's stealing from her mother just to kind of get to so they can avoid being scared and giving him what he feeds off of. So yeah, I mean it's funny, but at the same time it's just like, wow, this is how desperate they are to deal with this. So interesting part of the story that they're adding, that this is what they're doing to avoid this.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely crazy. I actually love the part where she said, "Your hands are so soft," and Rich was like, "Yeah, sometime I borrowed my mom's Noxzema."
When was the last time you heard Noxzema? Do they even say that anymore?
No, Noxzema for a minute. Tanya Jets, like he leaves the Colonel, and listen, this is the guy that's supposed to be taking you, and Colonel just starts shooting at him, which I thought was absolutely crazy. He drops this space dagger, but let's get back to Doc in the bathroom. His grandfather in the lockbox. Pete, I can't tell you how much I love this part. Because in Doctor Sleep, Doc showed Danny Torrance how to shut out ghosts and try to communicate with him, placing them in these mind lock boxes. Danny did this to all the ghosts in the Overlook Hotel. And he learned, again, Doc learned it from his grandmother, and Doc's greatest fear is releasing that box on top of his granddad. Listen, that communication with the dead using the shine is the reason we get to kind of see Russo at the end. And, now we get the whole idea what his grandmother was saying, Pete, about keeping that lid on tight. It was a lid to that particular box. Did that come full circle for you?
Well, the box was that, there's something obvious. The box was chained closed. It locked, chained closed. And the grandfather was teasing him about opening it, and he didn't want him to do that. So it seemed like a nightmare for him. Not more, a little bit more intense than what Lily dealt with in the supermarket, because it was his grandfather. Grandfather shoots the grandmother right in front of him.
God,
like
that was crazy.
Super intense scene there. And at the end, you see, like you said, he was able to see Russo after kind of jumped ahead the fact that Russo he died in the sewers, and he sees him after the fact. Again, he definitely passed away, but Dick does see him after the fact, after he comes out of the sewers. But that scene was intense in the sense that at the end you definitely see the box open on the bathroom floor.
Yeah. But Pete, we're going to get into the maddest and eeriest part for me when Halloran sees Charlotte running down into the sewers. Walk me through what was going on through your head in that whole process.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why I stated that they were at a disadvantage once they went in. That's his territory. You're definitely on defense there because, again, he portrayed a kid. And then he took drugs with kids. If he even took them, he took drugs with kids. So this is his territory. There's no holds barred for Pennywise, and he's in the form of his wife Charlotte, where he's actually forced to shoot her. She does the thing with the neck. Ooh. She does the speed walk. Of course, she has the. That's creepy too when Pennywise does that speed walk. So he's forced to shoot what he thinks he sees his wife. So he ends up shooting her. She's dead in the water, or she's there floating, and he's trying to take a closer look to see if his mind is really not playing tricks on him like he thinks it is. And of course, you see the Pennywise smile from her, and then she just gets sucked down into the water. Again, that smile is and it's very subtle. It's just the two teeth, and it's creepy as hell for me.
Yeah, Russo was bugging out. He was like, "Yo, what are you seeing, bro?"
Yeah, he sees him talking to nobody, pointing his gun at nobody.
Maddie takes the kids deeper into the sewer where the military is, and the bodies of the kids start flowing up. Even Maddie's actually shows up, and Pete, that transition, the makeup, was a work of art just to get Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise, and he looked phenomenal, especially when his head was turning and you saw the mouth with the teeth. What did you think about that scene?
Just the visuals. We spoke about the visuals before. The visuals in with Lily in the grocery store. Ronnie having the nightmare with her mom. The visuals look amazing, and they didn't. And this is for a show. This is not for a movie. And the transformation from Maddie to Pennywise was amazing. Was just it. It looked great. It looked great the way because like you said, the bodies start popping out the water, and they see the kids that were killed at the movie theater. So Maddie, for some reason, all the kids are bugging out because the bodies are just are rising to the surface of the water, and Maddie's on a pole. He's kind of like spinning around, like without a care in the world.
Get your dollars out.
Weird to do that at that time. And then when Lily sees Maddie in the water, that's when they pan back to Maddie, doing his little thing and you see the back of his head kind of open up, and the back of Pennywise's head was Maddie's face. So it was weird. The transition was very weird, but then he kind of presents himself, duck and cover kiddos is what he said.
Yeah.
He's just look, I remember it back in the days, back in the 90s when it was Tim Curry, I believe.
Yeah.
Who was Pennywise at that time. Didn't really care for it at that time. But seeing it now, Bill Skarsgård. I want some point I'll watch maybe I'll watch the 90s version, but Skarsgård really plays, his take on this character is amazing. And that reveal was just another, just more confirmation that he is the dude. He's a great actor, amazing range. I've seen him in a couple of things. He's really good, and this just shows how good he is.
Yeah, the kids are running and right into Leroy Halloran and Polly Russo, but this time Russo sees it. But Halloran is fixated on that it's not real.
Yeah, and they had the conversation. Yo, if you see something that's not supposed to be down here, you shoot it.
Shoot it, yeah. But his best friend sees it, and he probably couldn't live with the idea that his best friend was about to put a bullet in his kid. Pete, this one hurt. And do you blame the kid at this point, Hanlon's son, for what happened to Russo?
No, it sucks because I'm sure. Listen, he just wanted to help his friends, and he was really focused on helping them. I think he's got like a little thing for Ronnie, maybe. I think that's kind of been touched on. So he wants to help his friends. He left the military base to help his friends. I don't think that his intention was for his dad's best friend to get shot in the sewer. But he kind of did that to prevent him from shooting his own son because he just shot his wife, or what he thought was his wife. So it's again, the mind tricks that Pennywise is playing on them, on everybody. Again, you saw the two that died from the "I Want You" poster. Yeah, it's extremely, it's weird, but I don't blame him. This is all Pennywise. This is all Pennywise.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I'm dying to see what the conversation between Hanlon and his son is going to be like. Just super curious on what that alone. Lily is left behind, starts getting teased by Pennywise that it was her that brought everybody down. Again, more mind tricks. He transforms to her chopped dad again from the supermarket, and he gets back into the clown form, and he is ready to sink his teeth into Lily, but then that space dagger lights up and basically has that space between them. Listen, the way he shakes and turns back into the clown, like I did it in slow-mo about 4 or 5 times. It's just amazing work. So yes, we find out that Ingrid is getting it on with Hank. And Pete, I was wrong. It wasn't Chief Bauer's wife. Did you know immediately when he was in the back of the car, or did you think it was just random?
Well, Chief Bauer's wife would have been too easy. That's why when you said it, I didn't think that. I think you had was it you?
I took the bait.
Well, yeah, but again, that's the easy path to follow. I don't know if it was you or somewhere online that I read. Somebody suggested it was Maddie's mom. That's why he lets him in the movie theater.
I
But
think I might have mentioned that.
okay,
I
so
might have mentioned that.
so those are two theories. But when they showed him in the back of the car, I said it's her, because again we didn't know who it was. So for him to be, I didn't say 100%. I was like, oh, it's gonna be her. Maybe, and then when they started hugging in the woods, it confirmed it. But I mean, I didn't guess before he showed up in the car in the back seat. I didn't guess her. But when he was there, I said, "Oh, that's his chick. That's her." but the cool part about it is they suggest, they're implying that it's Pennywise who caused the bus to Shawshank to get into an accident to allow him to escape. He's the only one, I think, who escaped, because some of them died and some of them were recaptured. Right? But I think he's the only one who's still free. And of course, he goes to her.
Yeah, that's why I think Ingrid has an in with Pennywise. We get to the end. Leroy explains what kind of went down in the sewers, and Doc Horan hasn't made it out the sewer yet. Doc gets out, and then, of course, we see that the box that Doc had in the bathroom is now opened. Folks, I can't tell you how much we're enjoying the show. Please use the comment area to share your thoughts. Pete, take us home.
We will return.
The worst episode ever.